What's up, everybody, and welcome to In Love with Horror podcast. We are your hosts. I'm AJ.
And I'm Kristie. Join us for a love affair with all things horror as we explore the world of horror films, games, and everything in between.
And y'all, on this podcast, it is all about Godzilla Minus One. This will be our spoiler review / discussion. So we'll walk through the movie, give you like the play-by-play, then talk about all the things that we liked and the onesie and twosie type things that we didn't like. But that's all coming up on this podcast, so stay tuned. All right, y'all. So like I said, this is all about Godzilla Minus One. So go ahead and start off with the play-by-play. So we'll walk you through what happened in this film. So, and if you're not familiar, Godzilla Minus One is kind of like a almost like a reboot of sorts of the Godzilla franchise. It is a Japanese film. It was written and directed by Takashi Yamazaki. So he wrote it and directed this thing, and it was made on a $15 million budget. And again, Japanese film, so if you haven't seen it yet, it is in Japanese, English subtitles, but hey, it's worth it. But the basic synopsis for this, right? So it takes place directly after World War II in Japan. So it's kind of like a defeated Japan. They're trying to rebuild. We follow a character named Koichi. And he was a kamikaze pilot who didn't really fulfill his duty, of course, because he's here. And then he's trying to find himself, recover from the war. And, Japan's trying to rebuild. And all of a sudden Godzilla shows up, starts tearing shit out the frame. And the movie kind of builds from there. So that's kind of the rough synopsis of the film. If you're not familiar with Godzilla Minus One at all. And now let's jump into the play-by-play. So the movie opens up with our main character, Koichi, the kamikaze pilot, landing his plane on Odo Island. And he landed on Odo Island because they've got like a maintenance kind of repair team, like a small operation on this island. He landed because he said there's something wrong with his plane. And then we meet one of the main supporting characters that we will kind of revisit in this film later on. I actually don't recall the name of that character.
Mr. Tochibana, something like that.
Yeah, it was something like that. I can't exactly remember. Oh yeah, you're right. It's Tachibana. Yeah, Mr. Tachibana. But he lands his plane, and they start trying to work on it, and you could tell that he is not really, on board with being a kamikaze pilot. There was even a soldier who kind of walked up to him while he's kind of off to the side, and he said hey, we need people like you to kind of stand against this or something like that. He said, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but he's kind of I guess, giving him the room to say hey, it's cool. I get it. I'm not really on board with the war stuff anyway.
Yeah.
But so while he's kind of chilling there, they told him hey, we'll give you a room over here in this hut. We couldn't really find nothing wrong with the plane, but he already knew that because he didn't want to go do the kamikaze pilot thing. And so I believe it's in the middle of the night. Godzilla shows up.
Yeah.
And before he shows up, we get this kind of foreshadowing event that happens throughout the film where these little deep sea fish thing are all dead and floating on the top of the water.
Yeah.
And I think someone actually mentioned,
were they inside out? I couldn't, or is it just the way they looked? There was a bulb on their.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly couldn't tell.
I just couldn't tell.
I just thought they were some weird looking sea creature thing.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't pay them too much attention to it. I was some weird pink thing, and that just means basically what that means is Godzilla's coming.
Yeah.
I think someone told the kind of a folklore thing. It's there's deep sea creatures.
Mm-hmm.
That means that means Godzilla's coming.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like this known legend
right.
on Odo Island that Godzilla's a thing.
Right.
So Godzilla ends up showing up, but he's kind of in baby form, sort of. He's like a small version of Godzilla. He's
still big though.
He is still big. So don't get it twisted. He's still big as hell, but he's not as big. But he shows up and he's kind of going ham. He's destroying stuff. And there's a moment where like all the soldiers are hiding in a trench. And I think it was Mr. Tachibana told our main character Koichi, the kamikaze pilot, as Godzilla was like walking towards them, he was going to walk in front of the kamikaze pilot's plane. He said, "Hey, like go jump in your plane because it's got 20 millimeter rounds. Like nothing can survive that. When he gets in front of your plane, you can shoot him, and that should kill him."
Yeah.
So our character Koichi, he sneaks over there. He hops in the plane. Godzilla's walking, destroying stuff, and he stops in front of his plane. And Koichi's sitting in the plane, sitting at his controls, and he kind of freezes because Godzilla kind of looks at him, that's what it looked like to me. Kind of like glanced at him.
Yeah.
And Godzilla's just so big. This is something like he's ever seen before. So he just kind of froze. And then someone in the trench like freaked out and like started shooting. Yep, started shooting at Godzilla. Mr. Tachibana, of course, is like, "Hey, stop shooting!" But everyone's freaking out. These all start shooting. So Godzilla, he loses it. He runs over. He starts destroying everything. And I don't remember how Koichi got hit, but he gets hit in some fashion, right? Because he gets knocked out.
Oh, like the tail kind of like whipped around.
And it hit him?
And it hits him.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Because so he gets hit by the tail and he ends up getting knocked out. And he wakes up the next morning to find everybody dead except for Mr. Tachibana.
Yeah.
And, Mr. Tachibana is super pissed because he's like, "Hey, like you didn't shoot. Like this is your fault. This is on you." And then I think after that, I don't remember what it goes to directly after that. Was it jump to when they're on the boat?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it cuts to Koichi and Tachibana being on like a boat returning back to Japan, and Tachibana gives him a packet of pictures, and it was a picture of all of the people that died, like their families and stuff. Just kind of like adding more to his guilt of like, "Hey, this is your fault.
Yeah,
they died because of you."
Right.
But that kind of wraps up the Odo Island like segment of the movie. It's kind of like the opening, if you will, of the movie.
Yeah.
Did you want to add anything about the opening? Is there anything you liked or didn't like about the opening?
Well, you don't count that one as like a big scene. Why don't?
No, you mean like a big Godzilla scene?
Yeah, big Godzilla.
Yeah, because he's like in like baby form and
why you calling him baby form?
And also like he looked kind of weird. I didn't like the way he looked in that form.
Okay.
He looked more like fish lizard-ish.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just thought he looked weird. I was like, "Oh, I don't like that."
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
I still thought it was so hard. I thought that it was hard, like the whole thing.
I was cool. I was just like, I can't see the other version of Godzilla, not this miniature weird looking version.
Right. Well, Koichi.
Yep.
Obviously his performance is good to me, the whole thing.
Oh yeah.
But I thought he did a really good job of like expressing like that fear and like angst and like being torn, because obviously he seems like someone who does love his country and wants to do the right thing, but he's just like terrified, and you can just understand where he's coming from.
Yep.
And you also understand Mr. Tachibana as well, like, because he's not in the trenches. He's not the person that's in the fight. He's just off to the side, kind of like helping everyone else.
Yep.
And so like he doesn't see that action or see what it's like to be within that type of environment.
Yep.
So he has like this different sense of what he should be doing, what Mr. Koichi should have been doing or whatever, you know? So I thought they did a really good job of like, portraying that. In that opening.
His performance was great. You could really see like how much it was weighing on him. It was like, man, I know it's like my duty, but I don't want to die, essentially. Like, yeah. Especially, I think someone commented, I don't know if it's during this time or later on in the film, like someone makes a comment of like, like this effort would be worthless. Like we're losing anyway. Like what is this going to do for me to lose my life for basically nothing, essentially. So yeah, his performance is great on like weighing that, him carrying that weight. It's like, man, like this is a tough choice,
right?
But yeah, no, I agree. That was great, and his performance throughout the film was amazing. But yeah, so that kind of wraps up the opening of the film, and then he ends up returning home to find that the city that his family is from and friends and stuff has been like bombed and stuff like that. I don't know if it was implied if it was like the atom bombs or anything, Hiroshima bombs or anything.
No,
but everything was like destroyed.
raids.
Yeah, some air raids or something. Like it was obliterated, right? So he's trying to find like his family's house. And he ends up seeing one of the supporting characters in this film, Sumiko. She sees him and he's like, I don't remember initially what she said, but eventually it comes out that he's like, I don't know if she already knew he was a kamikaze pilot or if he mentioned it.
Well, no, she knew he was because she's like, "Why are you here? Like, how are you here?" Mm-hmm. Because they all died.
Yep. Yeah. So she kind of like adds to his guilt by telling him like, "Oh, like wait, you're a kamikaze pilot and you're here. Yeah. Like you betrayed your country. You didn't fulfill your duty." And she even like goes as far as to say it's like the reason why we lost is because of you. Yeah. People like you for not doing what they're supposed to do. Yeah. To add to his guilt. And I think she also tells him like, his parents were lost to the air raids. Like, his village has just been leveled basically. And I think even Sumiko mentioned that she's lost her family, her kids and everything. Cause she had like 3 kids. I think she lost all of them. And then, Koichi ends up going to the market or something, right? And I don't know if what he was doing.
He was just standing there when I don't know why he was there.
Okay. But eventually there's a woman that's being chased by, the police or whatever.
It was like a scene out of Aladdin.
Yeah. Like, hey, she's stop that thief.
Stop that thief, yep.
I don't even remember what she took, but she had a baby in her arms.
Yeah.
Huh?
No, I don't know what she took either. She had something in her hands.
Right.
Yeah.
But she had a baby in her arms, and as Koichi's just standing there, and so he like is standing in front of her. She runs up to him and then gives him the baby, and then just runs off. So he's just holding this baby. Yeah. But he ends up like sitting on the bench, like holding the baby for a long time. Yeah. Like a lot of time passes by, and if it's so long that he was kind of like, I guess she's not coming back. Yeah. Like he's waiting on her to come back, but she never came back. He's like, "Where's your mom?" She never came back. So he sets the baby down on the bench that he was sitting on, and then he walks away. And as he's leaving the market area, kind of our other main character, Noriko, like pops up, and she's like, "Oh, like you finally left it. Like it took that long to like ditch the baby, essentially." So
That's
she was
not what happened.
That is what happened.
No, he didn't leave the baby. He went back and got the baby, and then he ran into her. And then she was like, what she said was like, I was seeing how long it was going to take for you to, leave. And he was like, I was waiting for you.
Oh, so he went back and got the baby. I thought.
Did you fall asleep right there?
No, I just can't remember.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, he set the baby down on the bench.
Yeah, but then he walked back.
The reason why I remember this is because I was like, how can you leave that cute baby face?
Oh, okay.
And he went back and got her.
Yeah, no, I forgot about that particular piece. Yeah, I couldn't remember if she went and got the baby.
Oh no, he had the baby back again, and then he like ran into her. She was around the corner hiding the whole time. Oh, okay. Watching him.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, all right. So he got the baby. So he did put her down, but he went back and got her. And then as he's walking away, she's like, "Oh, why didn't you leave the baby or whatever?"
Yeah. And because he was like, "It's not safe" or something.
Right. Yeah, because it's not safe, and I can't leave this baby or whatever. And so she ends up like accompanying him back to what's left of his house.
Yeah, she's basically followed him.
Like just follows him and like moves in.
Him, yeah.
Yeah, she's kind of like just moves in into his house essentially.
Yeah.
And then from there, was it like a time jump of a couple days or anything? I can't really remember.
A couple days? Oh yeah, yeah.
He starts looking for a job. That's all I remember. A couple
days, yeah. And then I remember there was a part where he like walked out to go get like water or something, and Sumiko stopped him outside, and she's like, "I see you brought brought them back with you, or brought these people with you." Yep. So there was a jump of time, and then there was even more time after that, and then he did start looking for a job.
He started looking for a job because they've kind of formed this makeshift family.
It's like they weren't trauma bond.
Yeah, because they weren't actually in a relationship, but they were like almost like parents to this, to this little girl. But eventually he finds a job, and it's like a government job where he's like going to be sweeping the ocean for mines that have been left there, so they can clean up the ocean and get rid of the mines.
And she freaks out when he tells her.
Oh right, yeah,
that's what he's going to be doing.
Yeah, she's like, I don't remember.
She thought he was going to die basically, and she didn't want him to die.
And she was like, well, he basically said something like, you could die doing anything or something like that. And you could die in the war, but here I am, or whatever he was saying.
I don't remember that, but yeah.
I remember him saying something about like
maybe
something
he
like
did.
that.
Maybe I was opening up my cookie dough bites or something.
Oh, yeah, maybe. But yeah, so that's kind of completes that segment of like his return home, essentially.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to speak to like during that segment?
Well, I mean, like the biggest part of that time jump, right? It was like 2 years basically of him and the girl getting to know each other, right?
Right.
But we don't get any visual of that really.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, this is 1946, or whatever. Yeah. But I know you said it was weird to you how they formed.
Yeah, it didn't make sense to me. Like, yeah.
And I kind of looked at it as like they had such like traumatic experiences. And so like, that's why I called it a trauma bond, because I feel like that's the only reason why they kind of like stuck each other. Right. Yeah. Like he didn't have anyone and she didn't have anyone. And one of the key things is that the baby wasn't hers. Like it was someone else's baby that died in the war. Mm-hmm. So like now the baby doesn't have anyone. Like all
three of them have nothing.
They have no one but each other. So I think that's why I said.
I just find it hard to believe that, like in that time frame, some sort of relationship wouldn't have formed between them two. Like,
absolutely, I thought that's where it was gonna go. I thought something was gonna happen.
A year or two passes, and there's no relationship. I just find that extremely hard.
Well, obviously, he was in like dire distress, and it wasn't because of her that nothing happened. Because it seemed like to me she wanted something to happen.
Well, yeah, she stuck around.
Even then, you know what I'm saying? Like she was waiting.
Yeah, she was definitely waiting, and he was just I don't know what he was. I guess he was just so PTSD.
He was really messed up.
Yeah, he was jacked. Now
go ahead. Yeah. So
now I can't remember exactly when, because we go to a segment where he is like doing his job, right? But that first venture out where he's doing his job, they didn't encounter Godzilla at that time, right?
Yeah. No.
So he ends up, it cuts to him like going to get on this like wooden ship. Mm-hmm. He meets like kind of the band of characters that will kind of roll with. The rest of this film. Mm-hmm. I don't remember everyone's name. You got Dr. Yoji, right? Was that his name? Was he the doctor?
Yoji?
Was it Yoji?
I don't know.
Let me see if I can pull up the picture. It's actually kind of hard to tell, honestly.
No, I don't think that.
Because these people look so different than their IMDb pictures.
Yeah.
So I can't remember everyone's exact name, but we have this like ragtag. We have this ragtag group of people, right?
Well, you guys still got it. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say like there's
I got you.
There's the doctor. He's kind of like the like the smart guy of the group.
Yeah,
he's got experience. He's older. He's wise.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of like leading this initiative of this job.
Yeah, right.
Like, hey, we're gonna sweep the mines. That's why we got a wooden boat because these mines are magnetic.
Yeah,
so to make sure it doesn't attract to us. Then we got like what's I don't know the other dude's name. Or was Yoji the more animated one?
It might have been.
Yeah.
He's like an uncle.
He's like an uncle character.
I feel like he's like an uncle character. Yeah. Like because he wants to make sure everyone is doing what they're supposed to do.
Right.
Making sure the job is right. Like even in their personal lives. I feel like he's like kind of like an uncle.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And then you have like the young kid.
Yeah.
Who's got no experience.
None.
He ain't never done nothing.
No. But he's so hyped to want to do something to make a difference.
He wants to be involved. He wants to make a difference. All that good stuff.
It's like when Koichi was telling him that he was a pilot and stuff like that. He was like, "Oh wow!" Like I wish I could have seen some action.
Right?
All that
yeah.
Kind of stuff.
Yeah. I wish I went to the war. All that. Yeah.
Yeah. He's super gung ho. Ooh.
What?
Okay. Something hit my head.
Oh, was that? So there's a fly in here.
Oh, I was like, what the heck?
Yeah. So there's a fly, like a big ass fly,
hit me in
our office right now, y'all. I think he went into our video light over there. I don't even know how he got in here, but that fly is big as hell. Like I don't know what that fly is eating, but he is huge. But yeah, so we meet our ragtag bunch, and we see them go out and do their job.
Yeah,
and that's kind of where they see that Koichi's a good shot, right? Because they're using this.
Yeah. So
the job is like they have this. They drag this thing in the ocean that like cuts the chain of the little mines that are sitting in the ocean. The first thing I thought about was Finding Nemo when All those mines are sitting there. She's like, oh, like, look, balloons or something like that. But yeah, so they cut the chain, the mine floats up, and then they have a turret on the back of their boat to shoot the mine and blow it up. Yeah. That's kind of how they are getting rid of the mines in the ocean.
Right.
And so they end up seeing that Koichi can shoot good. And like, oh man, like
they were taking some skills. They couldn't shoot it at first. They was hitting all across the thing.
Right. And so this is where we kind of, see them to initially start to form their bonds. Now, what happened right after this? Because I honestly don't remember exactly what happened right after that.
Like as far as like,
because we started getting a segment of him like going home and like having money, right?
Yeah, he started making money.
Yeah.
He redid their house.
Yep, redid the house. He bought a motorcycle.
He had a motorcycle. They had nicer clothes.
Yeah,
you could see he was actually
like fixing stuff up. And I feel like, and it was kind of weird because everything else around their house
was still jacked up. Yeah.
All of it was fucked up.
Well, look, they couldn't help everybody.
But their house was like, it's like that one house in the neighborhood that someone renovated and it's like dumb nice. You know what I'm saying? Oh, that house costs $1 million. Everything else costs, $250,000.
Right.
It's like one of those scenarios.
It was.
I felt like even people were looking at his house like damn.
Yeah.
How the fuck you get all that money?
Yeah, they were.
This house, I'm living in this shack over here. He got a whole house with like, a kitchen and he
hooked it up.
Hibachi stove and like.
He really hooked it up.
Yeah, he hooked it up, y'all.
Yeah.
But because he's making good money.
He was.
Yeah. Now, at some point, I feel like during this time or because right after that point where they're showing him like rebuilding, that was another passage of time.
Yeah.
I can't remember if right after that is when they somehow learn about Godzilla.
I think that's when it is.
Okay.
Yeah, once we see them.
Because now, so they're somewhere in that little pocket of time, y'all, there's a brief, super fast scene that shows like a atomic bomb being dropped in the ocean, I think like for a test. And it drops in the ocean and it hits Godzilla. And like it looks like the radiation from that bomb like hits him. I think that's when he like evolves into mega form. You know what I'm saying? And I don't remember exactly how they learn about Godzilla, but somehow the doctor due to the group ends up saying like, oh, they're gonna like send us out there or the destroyer ship's coming. Do you remember? Like, how do they end up on the boat out there on the mission?
You're talking about that big time? I thought that happened. Okay, so I got it. I have it confused as well. Then, okay, yeah.
Oh, are you saying?
Yeah, that's right. That because they were sent out there to because another boat was out there that was messed up. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah. That's right.
Because like I guess Godzilla had been seen like in the ocean nearby.
Yeah.
Right. And then.
But did the doctor know? I thought Koichi was telling them what it was, and that he didn't know initially what it was. Just that they had to go out there or did he have internal knowledge of it?
No, I thought they were saying like they had been sent out there to stall for time.
Yeah. But he kind of like, to me, it was coming off as he was putting the pieces together as Koichi was telling him what it was.
Oh, I thought he already knew. That's why they were sent out there. I know he said they were sent out there because of the ship or whatever to do something, but I didn't know that he knew for sure that it was a creature. I just assumed that he was. Now this is just me. You might be right, and I might be wrong. Once they got there, and then Koichi was telling them, "Oh, it's Godzilla," and he was telling them what happened at Odo Island, and then he was kind of like putting it together, like, "Oh, okay, so that's why we're out here."
Yeah.
So basically, like this ragtag group of people end up getting sent out into the ocean because it's been. Heard on the radios and stuff that Godzilla's like, around the area in the ocean. They destroyed one of the battleships that was sitting out there floating nearby on the coast or whatever. And they end up figuring out they've been sent out there to stall for time so more battleships can get there to try to defeat
the
Godzilla.
Biggest one. I forgot what the name of it was.
Yep, the biggest ship. And so they piece that together. And then I think at that point, is when like Godzilla shows up.
He shows up, yeah.
Yep. And they start freaking out. And they're like, oh.
I was actually kind of stressed at this point in time because I was like, dang, like what's gonna happen to these people?
And Godzilla shows up and they start trying to run away.
Oh, they saw the fish.
Oh yeah.
That's what it was.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they saw the deep sea fish thing from Odo Island.
Yeah.
It popped up. And then that's when Koichi was like, oh, when we see that means Godzilla's coming.
Yep.
And sure enough, Godzilla shows up.
Yep.
And I can't remember because initially he stood up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they started running away.
Yep.
And then that's when they were like, "Oh, let's use
the mines."
The mines that because they had mines on their boat.
They had two big ones on their boat.
Yeah, so they had two mines on their boat. Godzilla starts chasing their little wooden boat.
It was hilarious.
Godzilla's massive in the water. They start chasing his boat, and they start dropping these mines in the water and shooting them to slow Godzilla down so they can get away. Mm-hmm. So Godzilla was getting close. They dropped one. They blew it up. It didn't really affect Godzilla. He just kept coming.
Yeah.
So then they dropped another one, right? And that one got stuck in his mouth.
Yeah.
And then they blew that one up.
Yeah.
Because I forgot how, but he somehow realized that his mouth was a weak spot or something like that.
Yeah. I think it's because he had more damage to him.
Oh, in the mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this mouth, they dropped another mine, and the mine got lodged in his mouth.
Right.
And they blew this one up.
But then.
And it blew part of Godzilla's face off, right? His cheek off and stuff. But then it regenerated.
Yeah. And they were like, "What?"
They were like, "Oh shit!" And and I can't remember when. I don't know if it was when they first see Godzilla when he first stood up before he starts chasing them. But I think Koichi at some point mentioned "Oh, he's way bigger than last time."
Yeah.
But anyway, once he regenerated, Godzilla starts coming for them again.
Yeah.
And he's getting really close.
And the other ship shows up.
And then the other ship shows up, and because I think Godzilla stood up.
Yeah.
And the other ship shows up, boom, starts shooting Godzilla.
They were going ham too.
Yep. Blasting him. Godzilla gets hit, and he kind of starts, leaning. But then he ends up, getting back in the water, heads towards that, big ship, and just wrecks it.
Yeah. It's really crazy. I like the scene because the group of them, when they saw the ship
they were hyped.
They were so excited. They was like, yes, he gonna take these people out. It's like, nope, that is not what happened at all.
Yep. Yeah, that was just a dope scene because again, it was just showing Godzilla's power. It also was let you know how much bigger he is than from the first time you see him in the beginning. He just tears the shit up. We also see the beam, so it's he kind of got onto the ship and was biting it, tearing it up, and they shoot him and he falls back under the water.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, y'all done messed up now."
And then I'm pretty sure he shoots a beam up through the boat, right? Boom, destroys it. And then he kind of goes away.
Yeah.
Kind of leaving the wooden boat alone.
I'm thinking he probably was just I need to get myself back together.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And then the group's just stunned.
They're shocked.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
And then I think they go back, and I feel like we heard something about Godzilla being heading towards the city or
that's what the doctor said. Yeah.
And I don't recall at what point do they go to his house and he end up meeting his family and stuff.
Yeah, I think that was after that because he wakes up in the hospital.
Yeah. Oh, because he got knocked out. That's right. Yeah, from the big explosions.
Yeah. Why was he the only one got knocked? We had to go to the hospital.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know. I guess everyone else was ducking him, but he was shooting.
Maybe so.
Yeah. But eventually he recovers because he got knocked out during that little Godzilla battle on the wooden boat. He wakes up in the hospital, and at some point, they kind of have a little fellowship in his house.
Yeah. And
his little ragtag team meets his I don't even know what to call it.
They meet Noriko and the little girl.
Yeah, they meet Noriko and the little girl who's this makeshift family, but not a family. Yeah. And I feel like they comment on
the uncle. He was like,
oh, you need to marry her or something like that.
Right. They didn't know that they weren't married.
Right.
He was like, oh, your family. The doctor was taking pictures of her.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, watch out because she's a married woman. And she's like, oh, I'm not a wife yet. And they're like, what?
Yeah. What the fuck? And then I think at that same dinner, somebody makes a comment about Akiko.
The little girl. Because she
called him daddy. And he was like, about your dad. And then I think it was the uncle who was like,
he's like, don't do that.
Damn, that's messed up. Don't do that. Yeah, it was he was the realest.
Yeah, he really was. I really liked. I think the differences within the group were so well balanced. Yeah. He had somebody who was encouraging to him.
Yep.
Someone who could look up to. someone who could look up to him, like who wanted to be like the kid. He wanted to be like him. He saw the good in him.
Yep.
And then you had that uncle just like want to pluck you on your ear type thing, So I really liked their dynamic.
The dynamic was really fun, like, and the performances of the dynamic are really good too.
Yeah.
Now, I think we just fast forward into a little bit more time, right? And Noriko at some point says like, "Oh, she got a job.
She got that paper."
Yep. She's like, "I want to get a job."
I got an office job.
And then I remember Koichi was like, "Well, like, how you get a job?"
He was like, "Don't I make enough money?"
Right. He's like, "I make enough."
Why you out here trying to get a job?
Yep. He's like, he's probably thinking like, "You out here looking cute and stuff."
Oh
like,
yeah, because she had a nice outfit on.
Had her business suit on.
Had her hair all curled and everything.
And then he was like, "Well, shoot. What about Akiko?"
Yep.
And then she was like, "Oh, she can go stay with Sumiko."
Yeah.
So Sumiko,
she's like, "I got this."
Yeah, Sumiko was the person in the beginning. She was like kind of guilt tripping Koichi.
Yeah.
But now she's like kind of like an auntie almost to Akiko.
Yeah.
And she like takes care of her when they're busy or whatever. And so I feel like in that moment you can kind of see like Koichi. It's almost like he does have feelings.
He does have feelings
to the extreme.
He's just scared.
Yeah,
I think he's just really fearful of like losing them or him ruining.
Yeah,
her and their relationship or whatever. And he also feels like he doesn't deserve good things.
Right.
And obviously, he looks at them as like good things.
They're good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Now, I don't remember exactly how we get there, but Noriko goes off to the city to go to her job.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's some sort of how does Koichi learn that Godzilla's pulling up on the city?
Does it show him? Because he's at home. Yeah, he's at home with the baby.
Yeah.
And then the sirens start going
That's
off.
what it is. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So we go to, we kind of follow Noriko to the city.
Oh, before we get to that, I'm sorry, I don't want to cut you off. Before we get to that though, the night before, he was having like a meltdown.
Oh, the nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And he really, basically he told, like he was at the point where he was like, I can't carry all this anymore, basically. You know what I'm saying? Like he was just toe up. Yep. But he tells her what happened.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And so
about the attack and stuff. That's right. Yep.
He tells her about Odo
the
Island.
Odo Island attack.
Who he was. Like he was a kamikaze fighter. And he was telling her, like basically, I don't deserve to live and all this kind of stuff. And he was like, am I already dead? Because, basically his life was better.
Yep.
And so she was kind of like, no, you are alive. Like you're here. Like you deserve to live type of thing.
Right.
They had like this moment. Yep. And that morning he had come to the realization or come to Jesus meeting basically.
Oh, he's like, maybe I can be forgiven.
Yeah. He was ready to live his new life.
Yep. That's right. He did say that.
And like brush it off.
Yep.
And then this happens.
That's right. He did say that. Yep. So she knew at that point who Godzilla was.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep. So we followed Noriko on the train to the city. And then like she's on the train and all of a sudden like a train car comes flying through the air and lands on the train track in front of their train. And so like the conductors are like, what the fuck? They pull on the brakes, they stop, and then all of a sudden you hear the doom, doom, and then like
sound effects was just insane.
Like throughout the whole film, like the directing is incredible.
Yeah,
like there's amazing shots, there's good camera work, good compositions, like all that stuff, right? And so like this part right here was super hard.
Super.
Because we see that, we hear the big steps and then, we're looking at kind of like her view out the window and then we see Godzilla coming around that building. Yeah. And then like, it kind of goes back to her looking at the camera is looking at her like outside the train car into the window. You see her and she's like, and you can see Godzilla's reflection in the window. And she's like, oh, is this Gojira?
Yep, that's him.
Yep. And it's like, that's him. Like, that is him. And he's big as hell. He's something to the city. Then this is where we get, like, my favorite part of this film.
Oh, really? What is it?
This whole sequence.
Oh, the whole sequence. Okay. I thought you had, like,
this is the
particular detail.
Hardest part of the entire movie. Like, this whole... So, basically, this sequence is... Well, you see in a lot of the two trailers. The destruction of the city. I don't even remember the name of the city. It's like Giza or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
He like obliterates the city. So I don't remember all the different things he was doing exactly, but he comes around the corner. We get a lot of great shots of like we get a lot of perspective shots like from like people down in the crowd, and like everyone's kind of like frozen, like looking up.
It's
like,
so insane to me because I was like, I don't know what I would do in
like
that
they're
situation.
in shock. Like the fuck is that?
It's like, okay, I see this thing. Why am I not running though? So I mean, I know there's like fight or flight, right? So
everyone's frozen, trying to figure out like,
but nobody's moving though.
Yeah. Well, because I think everyone's just such in shock. Like,
yeah. I
think this a couple things. They're trying to comprehend like,
what they see.
What am I even looking at?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then once he starts, I don't remember. He did something.
Yeah.
And that's when everyone realized like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like everyone starts running at the same time, scrambling, and he's just stomping through the city, and it's dope because like this shit is brutal.
Yeah.
Like, we see him like stepping on people. Yep. And he just starts like hitting buildings.
And there's a reporter reporting what's going on the roof.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are y'all doing? It kind of reminded me of like back in the day, the Weather Channel. Even now, I think people still do that. I just don't watch TV like that. But like in the middle of a storm, standing there trying to tell the news, and you about to get blown away.
You guys won't believe these winds. These winds are at like 120 miles per hour. There's like cars being thrown this way. There's glass shattering everywhere. Yep. There's 5 inches of rain out here. My boots, my socks are soaked. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's like that. So like the dude's on the roof, right, going ham. He's reporting everything. He's like, there's a monster in the middle of the city. Oh, he just destroyed this building. Yeah. He's looking right at us. He's coming this way.
That was hilarious. And then he hits the building that they're standing on. And
he does like a tail whip.
Yeah.
And like destroys like 5 buildings. Poof, and then he like kind of like chips this building.
Yeah,
so to the point where it starts leaning and collapsing, and it's
like a Jenga.
It's a cool shot where the camera's kind of like tracking them as they fall, and they start hanging onto the building.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But yeah, and then we just keep getting Godzilla just destroying. He's like biting the train cars. Now, okay,
that was interesting.
So yeah, so he did eventually like bite the train car that Noriko was in. And, like, picked it up in his mouth,
hanging,
and the train car is like dangling, and part of it breaks off. And she starts hanging like so the train car is like ripped in half. Yeah. She's like hanging on as he's
the bottom half
out of his mouth. And then
I was thinking like, how long could I hold on to that pole?
You ain't gonna be able to hold on. You done.
But she was lucky that where he held her over at was over like water.
Yep.
And so she eventually let go.
Drop into the water. Mm-hmm. And eventually she got out of the water and was kind of with the mass group people that were running. Eventually the Godzilla was getting closer, and she had fell down. Mm-hmm. Right, she got trampled, kind of like knocked over in the stampede. People trying to get away, and then guess who comes up to help her?
I was like, really? How he found her?
He pulled up.
How did he find her in this crowd of people, mass of people running from Godzilla?
Hey, look, he
rolled right up to where she was at.
He said, "I gotta go get my baby," and so
not his baby because he won't. He won't
nah, he's ready to start his new life. He's gonna marry her that day. I bet you. He's about to propose.
He might was gonna ask.
Propose that day, but then Godzilla pulled up and ruined it. But so they start running. Godzilla's going ham. Yeah. They start running, and then at this point, tanks pull up. Yeah. Like some military stuff pulls up. Tanks are shooting at Godzilla. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's like, oh. And he's getting hit, but Godzilla, he ain't fazed by that shit. He's like, I don't care.
So y'all wants to play?
Yeah, he's like, I don't give a fuck about that. And so, but it pisses him off.
He got super mad.
So like, he's like, all right, I got something for y'all. Yep. And then he starts charging up his beam. And this beam charge is dope because like his spikes glow and they kind of like shift, like they're charged and they poke out a little bit more. So it starts building up from the bottom of his tail all the way up his back. And then he kind of leans back a little bit. And then shoots out a beam like poof.
Yeah.
And it was a cool sound effect. But then shit hit. And it was like a nuclear bomb went off.
Yeah.
So you see this big ass explosion in the distance. Right? This big ass explosion. And then it's like a mushroom cloud type thing almost. Yeah. And then a shockwave comes and it starts like, this shockwave starts obliterating, like disintegrating buildings. Like just crumpling them. Like a domino effect of skyscrapers and buildings. This is like the coolest shit. I think this scene is probably the coolest scene of all cinema in the entire year. This shit was so fire.
It was.
So the shockwave decimating all the buildings, blowing shit back. And then it gets to, as the shockwave is getting closer to Koichi and Noriko pushes Koichi into the alleyway. I don't know why she didn't dive with him.
That was my thing. Yeah. It was like, I was like, this is like Titanic.
Yeah.
When Jack did not get on that door with Rose, he could have got up there.
Yep.
She could have got behind that building. Like literally,
she could have like grabbed him and went with him. Like like I'm using my momentum to grab you as we go into this.
Exactly. Yeah. That's exactly what she could have done. But no, she pushed him in.
So that was one of the dumb there's a couple of dumb moments in this movie.
Yeah.
And that was one of them because the reason why I did that is to create the whole story for the rest of this film.
For the other part.
Yeah. So she pushes him in there and she gets blown back by the shockwave. Like
she was gone.
That jump, she said,
she was gone.
That jump was hard.
Yeah.
So she gets blown back. But then this is the hardest part. The shockwave kind of comes back in like a suction. And the stuff's like getting pulled back. And then like we get this super dope ass shot that you see in the second trailer of this film where like you got like kind of Godzilla in the foreground and the big ass nuclear bomb mushroom cloud from his atomic breath.
Yep.
And then he like roars. Like he's looking at it, right? He's like, damn, yeah. He's like, yeah, I'm not dude. Like, y'all can't fuck with me.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Like, I did that. He's looking at it like man, I did that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like even he's shocked, like, damn, I'm strong as fuck. And then he roars.
Yeah.
And that was an incredible scene.
Like,
it
was crazy.
The way it looked, like the way it sounded, his roar sounded so good. Like, yo, that scene was so fire. And like even the audience who we were in were so hyped off that scene. Like everyone was like, wow.
Yeah.
Like,
it was crazy.
We ain't never seen nothing like that ever in a Godzilla movie. Mm-hmm. So, you know, Koichi comes out from behind the alley after the shockwaves are done, shockwaving. And he's looking around for Noriko and then like he kind of collapses and he starts
like, oh my God.
He starts screaming in the street. Now I'm not gonna lie, it was a great performance.
Yes.
It was a great, but I did laugh a little bit.
Why?
Because it was very over the top. Like, and then like his cry face is very like, it's like a very tore up one.
Yeah, it's tore up. Yeah, he was tore up.
It's like one of those.
Well, I felt like you said, like he was ready to like start this life with her, and then she literally got thrown away
like that.
That's crazy.
And so now we get a Koichi who's like he's mad, like, fuck this shit mode. Like I'm gonna kill Godzilla. Like he's in that kind of mode.
He's very in revenge mode.
Yeah, he's in super revenge mode. Now I don't remember exactly what happened directly after that scene. Cause I was just so hyped off of it. I can't remember what happened afterwards.
I don't know either. But I think they had the funeral, right?
Is that what they did? Oh, they did have. That's right. Because we cut to people coming out of the house.
Yeah.
And like in their.
He had like a funeral thing or whatever at his house.
Because like Sumiko was there with Akiko too.
She was
with the little girl,
helping them take care of her.
And then she was like, looking for mommy, and she said, "Mommy," started crying.
And her face was funny.
Her face was funny.
I did laugh the first time,
but I was impressed. I was like, man, they tell her, is she doing that on command?
I think she is because of the way she does it. Yeah, like she would go into it. Yeah, I was like, yeah, they telling her to cry.
They're telling her to do it,
and she doing it.
She did a good job.
She did, but yeah, because it's like she doesn't do anything. Her face is playing, then she goes into the cry. So I was like, yeah, they got to be telling her. But yeah, she on it.
She starts crying and Koichi can't take it, so he just leaves. I think he just walks out.
He goes into the other room.
Yeah,
I think it's not like he can't take it, or hearing her cry for her, hearing her cry for his mom messes him up even more, right? Mm-hmm. And he gets mad. He goes into the little room and because they got like an altar with her picture, and he's got the pictures of the people, the families too over there, and he's just like, I gotta kill this dude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then that's when the doctor's like, well, you about this life, let's go.
Yeah. So that kind of completes the initial segment of seeing Godzilla's destructive power. And then we get the catalyst for him being in revenge mode and all this type of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that whole sequence was super fire. The visual effects was on point. All the performances on point. The sound design was amazing. And we saw it, in IMAX, y'all. And that, man, this is like an IMAX event. Like seeing all that destruction and power and sound on the big screen like that on IMAX, that shit was amazing. Like it was incredible. It was a true cinematic experience. And this is honestly is like that sequence is probably like, if it ain't my number one, it's up there. It's like one of my number one favorite sequences from a film all year. Like that was amazing. I can't wait to watch that sequence again.
Yeah.
But and then I think it also true if that in that moment felt like a real horror movie.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Some scary looking.
Like it felt like a horror movie, like people running and the way they did the perspectives and the destruction. Like he was just tearing people up, like slamming people, like using his tail. Like it was just amazing. But yeah, like you said, so now we got the doctor who has developed this plan or knows of a plan to try to take out Godzilla.
Yeah. So they got like a certain amount of time because they figured that he was going to come back eventually. Yeah.
So that's one thing we want to point out is like, Godzilla, this is not like the intelligent Godzilla. Like he's very much like an animal, a creature, a monster. He's got, it kind of felt like he has a very limited intelligence. Like he's more animalistic.
Yeah.
And so they mentioned like, Godzilla's claimed this area as his territory. So he will be back. He went away, but he kind of marked his place. He's going to return at some point. So they start trying to develop this plan of like, okay, when he comes back, how are we going to kill him?
Yeah.
Now I don't remember how we got there, and correct me if I'm wrong, but not too long after that is when we get the scene of them, like the community coming to like be part of the task force to fight Godzilla. Yep. So it gets put out like all the community people, like, for the city that got destroyed, like, we're meeting here.
Mostly like people who had served.
No, like ex-war people.
The emphasis was on, I know that y'all have done this before. Yeah. And I hate to ask you to do it again. Yeah. And so I think there were mostly people who had served before.
Yeah. So we get a lot of, war veterans, that all meet in this building, and there's like an Navy
captain or something,
general or something like that. Who starts kind of delivering the spill to like these community of, that included, war veterans, people who are ready to fight to try to fight off Godzilla. And the general kind of puts out like, hey, like, our military can't help us because this is, post World War II. He's like, the U.S. can't come and help us because they're dealing with the Soviets. We can't use our military because then people will be like, oh, why are they moving all these military? And they might start provoking more war. And we just got out of a war. Yeah. So he's like, the military can't be involved. So it's got to be us as a community fight back from Godzilla. And that's when he's like, hey, look, I know you just got out of this war. It's about to be another war. But if we don't do this, like he was going to eliminate all of us. Yeah. Like you won't have a family, nowhere to go, nothing.
Yeah. He gave them like an ultimate, not an ultimate, like a choice.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Because they looked at it like this is certain in death. Like I'm not gonna walk away from this.
Right.
Yep. At that time. And so a lot of people were like, I'm out.
Oh yeah, I'm out. Like fuck this. He's like, I got a family. Like, because he basically told him like, you probably gonna die. You're gonna die. So most people, not too many people leave. Most people will be like, oh yeah, we ready to fight. Handful. Yeah, we was like, yeah, we ready to fight. Like, fuck this, fuck Godzilla. We gonna fight this dude. And so after this scene, after everyone's on board, like, yep, we're with this plan. And it was kind of funny because in this scene too, is where the ragtag group really understood like how connected the doctor of the group was.
Because I was shocked too.
Like he got up on stage and he was the one delivering the plan of it. Like, and they were like, wait a second. Like, whoa, we didn't know he was connected and plugged in like this. He kind of kept that on the low. Yeah. But he's like an ex-naval intelligence person or something like that.
He was deep on the inside.
And so he basically tells them, hey, look, the plan is to try to sink Godzilla super fast. Yeah. To like cause him to get killed by the compression. And then raise him up really fast so he gets decompression really fast. Raise him up really fast if it doesn't work.
That doesn't work, right.
Yeah. Basically using the pressure of the ocean to kill him because they're like,
he's from the ocean.
Even if he's that big, it should still be able to kill him. But if not, we'll raise him really fast. He get decompression sickness and should die that way.
Right.
That's basically the plan.
Yeah. I like this scene a lot too, also because Koichi, because he's so hell bent on killing it.
Oh yeah, he has like, no emotion.
Well, what if this doesn't work? You know what I'm saying? Like, can you guarantee that this is gonna happen? Like he's gonna die. And obviously, the doctor, he wants to give him that assurance, but he can't, right? Yeah. And he's just like, he kind of danced around it for a second, like I think this will work or whatever. But he's so angry at this point. All he cares about is killing Godzilla, right? And so even though they're like cool, no one else in the room is saying anything. But Koichi's like, nah, like I needs to know. Yep, 100% is this gonna work? Yep.
So after that, right? After they kind of give all the different options, all the different plan A's, plan B's, whatever, they meet for like, I remember they're sitting at a table, right? Like the ragtag team kind of meets, like they're almost like they're having dinner or lunch or something. They're kind of, they're met at like a restaurant. They're sitting at a table. And that's when they kind of say like, "Oh man, like doctor, we didn't know you was connected like that." Like they're all shocked. And then I remember what Koichi was saying some stuff, and it was like pissing people off. And then the uncle said some slick shit.
Oh, you should have married her. Or
oh
yeah,
like
that.
Like, cause Koichi's acting all pissed off about something. Yeah. And then the uncle said something about like, "Oh, you should have married Noriko. Like that's on you," or something like that. Yeah. And then he ends up like walking. I think Koichi walks away or something.
He leaves. Yeah.
Yeah. And then this is when we see Koichi like kind of like, I don't remember exactly if he because at some was he this is at the table, was he talking about how he wanted to use a fighter jet, right?
He brings that up a little bit later.
Oh, he does? Okay. So what happens after the table then? Because I don't remember.
Not sure actually.
I don't know. I don't know exactly what happens, but at some point, Koichi brings up to the doctor like, "Hey, like we got to be able to distract Godzilla. Like, can you get me in a plane to like be more nimble and shoot him and fight him?"
Well, maybe he does bring it up at that table because I can't think of another time when he would have been able to.
Yeah, I thought that's what kind of like piss people off too.
But he says that he would try to find him a plane. Yeah. So
he says
I'm not sure how it went left.
Yeah, so he says he'll find him a plane. And eventually he does. He finds him a plane and they go look at it.
Yeah.
And it's like a kind of special project, like prototype, that they like jet that they never really used. Yeah. And then he's like, "Oh, we gotta get a mechanic team to get it up to par." And he's like, "Oh, there's only one person I want to work on this plane." And he was talking about Mr. Tachibana. And so he develops these letters. At the time, we don't know what the letters say.
Right.
So he writes these letters and he like sends it out different places to try to find them. And even before he sent the letters, he actually went to like an Odo Island, like
a headquarters or something.
He was like a missing persons Odo Island thing, and he was like, "Hey, I'm trying to find this person." And the dude was like, "Oh, we checked the records, we don't see him." And he's like begging this person, like, "Please help." And the guy was like, "Look, we can't help you because we got a lot of shit to do."
Put his head down on the table. We miss like, please, like, help.
That humility, yeah. He's like, "Look, we got missed people everywhere after this war." Anyway, that's why he writes the letters and he sends it out to different places.
Yeah,
and eventually it does reach Mr. Tachibana because one day like Koichi's like walking.
He's
in the
walking
alley.
back from meeting the doctor because the doctor's like, "We don't have that much time. Like,
oh right, yeah,
we gotta maybe figure out another
he's
plan."
Like, "Oh wait,"
he's like, "I have to have him. Yep. Nobody else."
Yep.
Yeah. So he leaves again, and then when he's leaving, that's when
Tachibana pulls up on him and like smacks him in the back of the head, knocks him out. And then like he like ties him up,
tied up,
and brings him somewhere. Like he's about to kill this dude. He's punching him in the face. And then that's when we find out he's like, "Why'd you write me this letter that says everything on Odo Island is my fault?"
Yeah. And I was like, "Why he do that?"
Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, "What the fuck?" And he's like, "I knew if I pissed you off, you come find me." And it worked. He's like, "Here you are."
Yeah.
And so he basically like gives him the spiel of like, "Hey, look, like Godzilla about to like keep tearing stuff up. We gotta take him out. We got this plan. I need you to fix it up because I'm gonna take Godzilla out."
Yeah.
So he's like, eventually he's like, whatever, okay. And then I think it's when we see, the dude like working on the plane. We get some interactions between him and Koichi.
Yeah.
And eventually, we get a segment of where Tachibana shows Koichi like the developments, right? Like, "Oh, here's where the bomb is. This is how you can use the bomb. Like we're pulling this lever to prime it and stuff like that." And does Koichi tell him anything in this part? I think he mentioned something, or does he not?
Well, he was just, reiterating like why he was doing what he was doing.
Okay.
Yeah, like, for the people that was lost. Yeah. And he said he lost someone, and then he showed him a picture that Akiko had drew him.
Oh, right. Yep. And we see him tell him something, but obviously we don't know what it is at the time. But eventually, Koichi goes back home. He starts prepping to give Akiko to Sumiko.
There's like basically, go ahead.
Yeah, because he like writes a letter, puts money in there, and puts it by Akiko. And then that morning, he kind of goes to the hangar where the plane is and gets in it to go.
Well, this kind of happened after they had like a meeting.
Which one? Which meeting?
Like there was like a meeting that they had with everyone that was going to be involved in the fight. The doctor was telling them, because they had like the report of where Godzilla was coming from, and how much time they thought it would take for him to get there. Yep. And I bring this scene up because I thought it was very insightful, because I don't know a lot about like kamikaze fighters or the history of all that, the details on the Japanese side of things. Mm-hmm. And you kind of get, touches of it when the doctor is kind of like prepping them for what's about to happen. And like how he talks about how the Japanese military or whatever made it so that they felt the need to die, right? There was no escape from what they were about to do. But he was like, because everyone was up until that point had the mindset that they were going to walk away. They weren't going to walk away from the situation. Yep. Mm-hmm. But he was like, nah, like we want to be able to walk away from this. Like this, we're going to kill this creature and we're going to come back home to our families. Yeah. And like he touched on the fact that like their planes weren't made to be able to get out of. Like there was no escape from any situation when it came to war. They had no care about your life when you were in the military and stuff like that. Like you were to serve and die. That was your job. I just really thought that was a very impactful and powerful message. Oh yeah.
So then we end up getting Koichi getting in the plane, and that's when we also see like the ragtag group. Is at the harbor or something like that, right?
Yeah. But, another important piece is the fact that night that they were having that meeting, they told the kid that he couldn't come.
Yeah.
They were like, you're the future. Like they didn't tell him that, but that's how they said to each other. Like,
right. Yep.
He's the future
generation to carry the,
so
rebuild.
They wanted him safe on the island. Like they didn't want him to come.
Yeah, but he wanted to fight so bad.
He wanted to fight
young
so bad.
Kid.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, but that's important because of what happens later.
Right. Yep. So they're at the harbor, and that's when it's announced, like, Godzilla's
he's already here.
Yeah, and he ends up like you see a ship like come flying through the air or whatever.
Yeah, and so they're like, "Well, what do we do now?"
Yep.
And the doctor's like, "No, we still going out."
Yep.
Like we still, because the plan was to get Koichi to distract, lure him out into the ocean.
Yep.
So they was like, we could still do that.
Yep.
Even though he's already here. So that's what he does.
Yep. So I don't remember. When do they pull out the ship with the little microphone or the speaker with the Godzilla sound?
Oh yeah, we did skip that. That was because that was what they were doing to try to bring him to closer to them, right? Initially. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. So that was like earlier on.
Oh, okay. I thought that was around the same time. But anyway, they end up they sent like a decoy ship, right? I thought that was the speaker one. But
maybe so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought they sent that decoy ship with the speaker
to bring him out into
the like kind of like pull Godzilla away from the harbor pier area.
Right.
And then he shot that ship with this hyper beam, blew that shit up.
Yeah.
Cool explosion on that one too. And they got the tugboats out. It's got the like contraption that's going to help sink him. Mm-hmm. And then Koichi makes it out there in his plane. He's shooting at Godzilla. Godzilla's trying to swipe at him and bite him and all this shit. And Koichi's just shooting him.
That was kind of funny.
Yep.
Like he was like,
yeah. And then like so basically there's two tugboats that our band of characters are helping commandeer, and they're like going to basically use these tugboats to like wrap these cables with these sinking devices around Godzilla in the ocean. Because Godzilla's just standing out in the ocean, and they're going to wrap these things around him to help sink him, while Koichi kind of distracts him with the plane. Because that's kind of one of the things I didn't like actually about this part. Godzilla's just literally just standing there.
Yeah.
Like in the ocean. He wasn't
swimming or trying to do anything. He was just
like attack the boats. He was just like, there's literally moments, if you look in the background, like he's just like this. And I'm like, he would never do that.
Yeah.
Even as like an animal, you know what I'm saying? Like he would be moving like, like I see these ships,
Right.
I know he's focused on the plane, but like to literally just be standing there like this, I'm like, come on now. Like that's a little dumb.
Yeah.
But they end up getting the cables wrapped around him, and they deploy the sinking contraption. They launch it. He sinks down super fast, and they like seeing the meters running up on the ship on the cables.
Yep. They start getting hyped.
Yeah, they're getting hyped.
So I think the goal was to get to 1,500 feet or something like that.
It was like, we're at 800, we're at 900, we're at 1,000. And they made it to like 1,500 meters below the surface.
They thought they was doing good.
Yep. It's like, and now they're kind of waiting to see what happens. Yeah. And then they notice like there's movement or something. Like Godzilla kind of like pulls the boat a little bit. And they're like, oh man, like he's strong as fuck. Like plan B, let's surface him really fast. Yeah. To give him the decompression sickness and kill him that way. So they like, initiate the plan B, which is to like bring him, like use a flotation device that's also rigged in the cables to like bring him up to the top of the ocean really fast to make him like decompress really fast and like freeze and kind of get messed up internally.
But then he like messes up the flotation device.
Yeah, so at some point around 800 meters, like the cables get stuck.
It stops.
And they're like, okay, well the cable's stuck, like he's not coming up anymore.
So they try to pull him up.
Let's try to pull him up. And so the two ships start like going in opposite directions, trying to like raise Godzilla out of the ocean. And it's not working. So they're like, oh, we're fucked, basically. But then all of a sudden, like the young character that they told not to come out there shows up with his boat and he's saying like, such and such boat, like here to help. Yeah. And then like all of a sudden it cuts to another person who's like such and such boat here to help.
Yeah. It was and
the young dude had corralled like 50 tugboats that come out there and help, and they all attach to the other two boats to help
them up,
pull Godzilla up. So all these tugboats are pulling on these cables, and they bring Godzilla back up to the surface. And you can see that he almost looks frozen a little bit.
He does. He looked
like it looked like he got iced or something. Yeah, like he looked weird.
And he was. The doctor's like, that's not enough damage.
Yeah, it's not enough damage. Like he's not jacked. Like he's still able to move. And at this point, he starts charging a beam. Yep. And Koichi's still flying around the plane. And this whole time, like he had been planning to kamikaze himself into, Godzilla to destroy him. Because he said like, he told the mechanic dude that was helping him, Tachibana, he's like, look, I know the weak point is his mouth. We got all these bombs strapped to this plane. I'm going to fly into his mouth and kill this dude. And that was also like him fulfilling the duty that he abandoned back in the war. Yeah. So, Godzilla's charging up this beam. Koichi's flying directly towards Godzilla.
And it is silent.
Oh, right. Yeah, it is.
The movie is cuts silent.
It cuts people's faces and like everyone's like, like, what's about to happen.
Yeah. And I thought that was so impactful. It was funny because I was about to say something to you, right? And then I realized how quiet it was.
Yeah. You can't say nothing right now. Everybody's focused. Everybody focused right now, though. And so, he flies the plane to his mouth. Boom. And then that junk blows up. Yeah. And then, and then someone pointed it out. I forgot who it was. It took a second though.
It wasn't initial. Like, it wasn't.
Everyone's like in shock. Like, what the fuck?
It took a moment.
And then someone looked up and was like, oh, he ejected. Like he's up there. Yeah. And so like, sure enough, he ejected. And I think he did a flashback.
Yes.
Showing Tachibana tell him like, hey, like this is an ejection lever. Yeah. And he like basically like
choose to live.
Right. He like forgave him in that moment. And he told him he's like live. Like,
I was like,
yep.
I was crying.
Oh yeah, he was crying because so he forgave him. That's a big thing about this movie is like forgiveness and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now, at some point, it does cut back to Sumiko.
This was kind of earlier, but yeah.
Yeah, it does at some point in this battle cut back to Sumiko, the auntie character with their daughter Akiko, and eventually like. Earlier that morning, Akiko came out of the house. She's by herself. She had the paper, the envelope with the money. And she walked outside. And Sumiko's like, what the fuck? Why are you by yourself? And that's when she saw the note and the money. But then also, like later on in another scene, Sumiko's with Akiko and a telegram comes. You don't see what's on the telegram at the time, but she looks very shocked by what's on the telegram.
Yeah. You can kind of put two and two together about what it was.
And then it cuts back to the battle. Of course, Godzilla's head got blown to pieces.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yep, and then literally and then after his head got kind of blown to pieces, like his body just starts to like break apart.
It was so weird.
It looked kind of weird. Yeah, I didn't get that. It looked weird visually. Because like it's almost like I'll tell you what, it's almost like the beams, like his charge of atomic breath was like started poking out of him. Yeah, the blue beam. Started like poking at him and he kind of fell apart. And he like sunk into the ocean in bits and pieces. And eventually it cuts to a scene of them returning back to the pier.
Everybody's like, yeah.
Everyone's all hyped, like, cause oh shit, y'all did it. Like Koichi saved the day, da da da. Yeah. And so there's a lot of people, a lot of citizens waiting for them as they get off these boats.
Yeah.
And so Koichi gets off the boat, and we see Sumiko with Akiko like pushing through the audience, the crowd to get to Koichi. And she gets to him, and she is pissed, hitting him,
she's smacking the mess out of him,
you stupid enough, what were you thinking?
What were you thinking? Yeah.
And she gives him the telegram, and he reads it, and he's like,
he takes off.
He takes off, and then we see him into the city, running to the hospital. Like you said, you're putting two and two together.
Yeah. And
he pulls up. He's got Akiko with him, by the way. He's got the daughter, and he stops at the door, and there's Noriko. She survived, and she's in the hospital. She's got a bandage, I think, over one eye or something like that.
I was like, really?
Yeah, she had.
Everything else looked perfect.
Yeah,
no scratches or anything.
Let me tell you something. Ain't no way she could have survived that. I'm gonna tell you that right now. But anyway, he starts crying, wailing.
Man, he was toe up.
All
and
the
she
way
just
up.
like this.
Yeah. And then he walks over to her and puts Akiko down and gets on his knees.
We don't see her no more.
Yeah, we don't even see. He puts her down to the side, gets on his knees next to her, and she says something like,
"Are you still fighting your war?"
Oh yeah, are you still fighting your war? And he's like, and he said he shook his head no. I think.
Yeah.
And he just lays his head on her chest or whatever.
But that's all she says. Yeah. And he's literally in a puddle.
He is
at her feet,
destroyed.
Yeah.
But in a joyful kind of way.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, I got you're here again. You got
another chance.
I guess the only thing I think of was she was like, I've been waiting for you for. Maybe she's thinking I've been waiting for your ass for so long, and it took all this for you to finally be like, oh, I need to marry your ass. I mean, I don't know.
Maybe so, but I felt like she could have shown some kind of emotion, not only towards him, but the baby.
Yeah.
They ain't paid that baby no mind.
Yeah. Yeah, that was weird. I thought it would have been a way better conclusion if they had a more familial emotional moment.
Embrace.
Everyone's
and she
up.
Was emotional as well. She had no emotion.
She had none. It was weird. She had no emotion at all. And it would have been cool, especially because you saw Akiko upset that her mom was missing
the whole time.
Yeah.
Right?
So it's why would you not show a more full reuniting of the family? It was weird. It was a weird choice.
That's the only thing I did not. Well, yeah, mainly. That's the only thing I didn't really like about this movie. The way that they did that, I was like, really?
Yeah, it was a weird choice. Definitely was not.
It bothered me
for how powerful all the other moments in this film are with emotion and sadness,
especially the one when he was telling her about what he was going through, his pain. She was very emotional.
Very
in that
emotional,
scene.
Comforting.
Yes. Yeah. So where was that at the end there?
I don't know.
It was gone.
I guess she got hit with that shockwave, and
she had nothing on the rest of her face or her body. It was perfectly beautiful skin.
Yeah. And she had no emotion. It was weird.
Yeah, it was really weird.
I don't know. I wish I could hear
she even got mad. Remember when he got the job? She was hitting him and
she's very emotional in those moments.
So she can be emotional.
But now she's you done fighting your war.
Okay. It took y'all how long to get here? I've been laying up in this hospital bed for 3 days.
I don't know. That was weird. I would like to know the director, writer, Takashi's mindset behind having that scene be that way.
That,
all the other moments in the scene throughout the movie, emotional moments, are so heavy. Yeah. And then in the moment that you're supposed to be excited about their reunification, it's so dry and one-sided, and the daughter's missing. It's weird.
Yeah, that's weird.
You have all these other moments that display everybody else's emotions, but in the one moment where it's this is the concluding moment, the family's reunited, the enemy's defeated, you're supposed to tie up in a happy bow. You don't do it. I don't get that. But I agree with you. That's a gripe there. Yeah. But so that kind of right after that, we cut to the ocean.
Yeah.
Because it kind of ends we don't after that moment we don't see anyone else. We cut to the ocean and we see Godzilla's heart.
Yeah.
With some skin and stuff attached to it, and it's still beating, and it starts to regenerate.
Yeah.
Basically indicating
he's boy
is not dead. He's coming back. His whole body's gonna regrow again.
Yeah.
And he had to do this all over again.
But that's the end.
That is the end. That's Godzilla Minus One. Incredible movie.
It was.
Incredible film.
Very incredible.
Throughout our play-by-play, we kind of told you the parts that we thought were, gripes here and there. Most of them are minor gripes. Yeah. There's no big gripes where we're this negatively impact the movie in a way that we didn't like. This movie is fantastic from beginning to end. You know, with the Japanese, you know, I'll take that back. With the American films, like the spectacle of the monster fights are awesome.
Yeah,
but they cannot figure out how to make the human characters like meaningful or interesting or whatever.
Interesting.
And this movie,
conversations,
right? Or like a good story for the humans to follow along with the Godzilla Kong stories. You know, and you know those American movies satisfy like a different thing, right? Like the craving is the monster fights.
Yeah,
because though. Like, I don't care what you say. Those monster fights in the American movies are amazing. Like, and Godzilla, King of the Monsters, like when he's fighting King Ghidorah and stuff like that, that shit was awesome. That shit was fire. Godzilla versus Kong. Those fights were dope. Especially when Mecha Godzilla came out and he was whooping Godzilla's ass. Like, Godzilla was getting, I don't think you've seen it
haven't seen that one. Yeah.
He was getting towed up and then Kong came and helped out.
Yeah.
Those fights are amazing, but the human part's so boring or it's not a good story.
Yeah.
Godzilla Minus One, you know, it being a Japanese film, and typically the Japanese Godzilla films do a little bit better job with the human elements.
Yeah.
But this movie, like, perfectly has a good human story that's interesting, meaningful, has some commentary, some messaging to it, but also the monster shit is fire.
Yeah.
Destruction, Godzilla's the sound, his roar, the atomic breath, like everything is just dope. It figured out both.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It figured out both lanes, the human lane and the monster lane. Everybody's satisfied. You get some good character play, the drama stuff that you like.
Yes.
And the big spectacle monster stuff that I like. Like it's all there in this like perfect package. You know what I'm saying? And one thing I did want to mention, because this movie is reviewing like extremely well. Like it is doing crazy good. So right now, we're recording this on Saturday, and Godzilla Minus One over on Rotten Tomatoes has got a 97% critic score, and that's with, what is that, 74? Let me zoom in a little bit.
Yeah,
it's kind of hard to see. Is it 74? With 74 critic reviews, and then 98% audience score with over 1,000 verified reviews. That's crazy. I don't know, like the 2023 film list ratings off the top of my head, but that's got to be like amongst some of like the highest rated films of 2023,
sure. Yeah,
like by far. But yeah, this movie's incredible. Like, you know, congratulations to the team. And again, I want to mention this movie was made on a $15 million budget.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And they put that money to work.
They did.
There's scenes in there that look amazing. The color grading looks amazing. The audio design is amazing. The soundtrack is fire.
I loved it.
Of course, you get the Godzilla themes.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of the Godzilla themes play like when you initially attacks that main city, and again it plays when you do the kind of final battle in the ocean with them trying to drown him. You get the classic Godzilla themes, you know, the burr, 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 and then the more fast paced violin. That joint's fire.
I played it the next day.
Yeah, because it's hard. The album is on Spotify, and we already know because we pulled it up.
Yep.
Because even the more original pieces are fire. Like
they were,
especially like when Godzilla had like showed up, and you got those like kind of like more angelic or divine type of like.
Yeah.
And then like, you know, it's like ethereal and like Godzilla's a god.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because to them he is. This motherfucker's unstoppable. The tanks don't do nothing. The planes don't do nothing.
That's what I said. I mean, technically he is godlike. You know?
Yeah. So the soundtrack is super fire. So make sure y'all go check out the soundtrack over on Spotify, wherever you listen to your music at. But yeah, I think you thought this movie is almost perfect, right?
You know me, yeah, it was.
So ratings, what would you rate this film?
5 out of 5.
5 out of 5, y'all. It's a masterpiece.
It is.
Masterpiece.
It's a great movie.
Yeah, I think
like you said, like it's got everything, all the components, all the pieces to go together. I think just overall it was just like a very enjoyable movie.
Yeah, I think for me I'm gonna go 4.75 out of 5. Mainly because like I did have a little bit of issues with the pacing, just a little bit, but I feel like 4.75 is like stupid good.
It's still good. Yeah,
that's almost damn near perfect. Because because you gotta keep it a buck. The movie ain't perfect.
No, it's not perfect, but I still think that It's very close.
It's close. I agree. It is close as hell. It is very close, y'all.
Yeah.
But yeah, Godzilla Minus One, y'all. Let us know down in the comments if you've seen this film. What did you think about it? We gave you the play-by-play. We gave you the things we liked, the things that we kind of had minor gripes about, but nothing, nothing impactful, because this is damn near a masterpiece of a film. This is one of the best Godzilla films I've ever seen. And the rhetoric online, the discourse between critics and audience, kind of everyone's in agreement. It's like, this is one of the best Godzilla movies like ever. I would love to see them do more with this. I'd love to see them maybe even have him fight another monster, because that'd be cool to see that dynamic presented with this tone of a film. I'd be interested to see what they do. And hopefully the American films could take some lessons from this film and be like, okay, this is how you do the human stories to make it interesting and meaningful and impactful, to help carry the film. So we're not like, okay, when Godzilla's showing up, when Kong showing up. But yeah, this movie's amazing. Like, I don't know other films Takashi Yamazaki has done, but I would love to see the other films that he's done. I don't know if he did he do Shin Godzilla? I don't think he did. I might have to go look and see what other films he's done, because dude killed it with this. So I got to see what else he worked on.
Yes, for sure.
But let's know down in the comments, y'all, what y'all thought about Godzilla Minus One. And if you haven't seen it, like, you're watching this review and we told you the spoilers, but you haven't seen it yet, I promise you this film is worth going to the movies for. Definitely. See it in the IMAX. Because I'm telling you, like, it's a little bit more expensive in the IMAX. I'm telling you, it's worth it though.
Yeah.
Seeing Godzilla in destruction on the big screen is so worth it. But that'll do it for this video, y'all. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment, follow us. Follow us on Spotify, Apple. Follow us across all of our social media. We'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.